Do Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby have another level to take the Knicks to the promised land this year? I'm joined again by former host James Marceda to get into it on today's Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, welcome into Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast. I'm Alex Wolf, I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is right around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. In fact, I believe today, if I'm not mistaken, is Futures Day. So check that out. On today's show, I will be speaking with James Marceda, once again, former host of Locked On Knicks. Coming back for a glorious return here, two-part episode. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. Do they have different gears to take the Knicks to another level? And then James turns it around on me and gives me a for real or fugazi to go over. And then I have a special announcement at the end of the show as well. So keep your ears tuned all the way for that. But first, I want to thank you all for making Locked On Knicks first listen today and every day. Whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube, we appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit the auto download function on your favorite podcast app or the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. All right, let's get right into it for part two of this great episode with James Marceda. All right, I'm back in with James Marceda, former host of Locked On Knicks, the man who passed the baton to me back in the day to take over this show. And let's get into our fourth for real or fugazi here, James. Mikal Bridges last year. This is going to be Mikal Bridges themed for real or fugazi. Last year, 17.6 points per game, 50% from the field, 35% from three, 35.4 to be exact, on 5.6 attempts per game, and shot 81.4% at the free throw line. The previous 2 years to that, he shot, this was with the half season with the Suns and then the year and a half with the Nets. He shot 19.9, or he had 19.9 points per game, shot 45.2% from the field, 37.6% from three on 6.3 attempts, and 85.7% from the free throw line. Now, a thing that he got ripped on, I think with good reason this past year, was his attempts at the rim, or lack thereof. That said, he had 256 shots at the rim last year per Basketball Reference, only 214 in 23 to 24 and 228 in 22 to 23. But the big difference is that in 22 to 23, he had 4.3 free throw attempts per game. In 23-24, he had 3.9. Last year, just 1.4 free throw attempts per game for Mikal Bridges. So last year, actually the most shots he's taken at the rim in his career per Basketball Reference, and yet not a lot of free throws, which is I think one of the biggest things that held him back from being potentially a 20-point per game scorer last year. So for real or fugazi here, James, Mikal Bridges can be a near 20-point per game scorer again next year under Mike Brown and get back to drawing fouls, let's just say some of the time.
Well, near 20 points, definitely for real. I mean, with everything that happened last year, from the shot form drama in preseason and early in the season to, just him saying we should do layup lines. And I'm actually kind of amazed he wound up with 17 point whatever points after like all the drama around like his performance after, trading however many picks it was and all that. And then you heard, which made sense, that he seemed like uncomfortable with the way Tibbs was using him. So I definitely could see him scoring more. There's only so many baskets to go around. That's like the one thing. Yeah, he was such an interesting player, like such a weird guy to watch, because like the amount of layups he would turn down for that little 5-foot fadeaway thing that he loves to do was insane. But then it also felt like automatic when he did that stupid little 5-foot fadeaway. So I was like, yeah, I'm just hopeful. I don't know. This time of year, I'm hopeful. And also just like there is evidence that you could point to suggest that it'll be an improvement next year, along with just the very basic like year 2 of these guys being all together. But yeah, I don't, I don't know what's going on with him with the one thing with the free throw. I'll say is I do kind of give some credence that he's got to know in the back of his head his like Iron Man streak. Like even if he's not thinking about that on every play and being like, don't want to get injured for my Iron Man streak as he's going to the hoop, like he's a human being. I'm sure he's proud of that. Like, wouldn't anyone be? So I wonder, like, I do wonder how much that might play into the psychology of this very, we all see like kind of bizarre behavior of not attacking the rim. I mean, he's also a stick man. So maybe that's part of it. But the numbers are lower than they were before. So I don't know. That's the one I'm like not as bullish on, but I could definitely see him scoring, a couple more points, 2.5 more points per game, like for sure.
Yeah, I'm also going to join you on the for real train here because not for nothing, I actually was going to bring up the Iron Man streak too, but like not for nothing, he played the most minutes per game of his career last year as well. And I mean, even just in terms of total minutes played, his previous high in his career had been 2,963. That was that was when he played an extra game. The year when he went from Phoenix to Brooklyn, where he actually played in 83 regular season games that year, played
Okay.
2,963 minutes. This year played 3,036, and that was almost 200 more minutes than he played with Brooklyn in 23 to 24. I think that has something to do with him not attacking the rim. I think he's definitely prideful about that Iron Man streak too. I think it does show in his play a little bit, and yet I feel like maybe at a certain point, I don't know if there's like some milestone he's hoping to get over, some player he's hoping to pass in the like all-time consecutive games ranking or something. At a certain point, though, I do think he's going to have to kind of let go of that and be like, you know what? Not that he's trying to sprain an ankle or something, but be like, you know what? I'm going to attack this play, and if I tweak my knee or whatever, so be it, I guess. Like I'll be fine. Like he does stretch like crazy. He's very limber. To your point, he is a stick man, but he stretches like crazy. Like he can take contact and survive it, I think.
I'm not calling him not tough for the record.
Oh, I know, but it's real. It's real.
Beat me up and down the street if he wanted to. That's not what my angle.
I mean, that's also something that's something that follows all skinnier players, though, right? Is that
right?
Do they think that they can handle taking those hits? And like, I mean, I remember like Kevin Durant even, going through that kind of like early in his career, or like Wemby kind of, has gone through. Porzingis on the Knicks, wouldn't be able to back down Marcus Smart or whatever when he was first in his career. But, Bridges is now like so late in his career that it's like, well, I don't think he's going to magically like put on a bunch of mass overnight or something in this offseason or something like that. But yeah, I'm gonna go for real on the coming back to near 20 point per game score. I'm hoping that the reason for that is what we've been hopeful for this whole time that we've been talking about all these scenarios, and that's that Mike Brown runs more of a 5-out offense, more of an offense that's conducive to getting guys cutting, creating easier looks, like create scenarios where like Mikal Bridges doesn't have to drive into someone and instead has someone foul him while he's going up for a layup. And maybe that's suddenly a shot that he's more willing to take consistently. That's how I kind of look at it. So I think it's, again, low hanging fruit here, like 2 points per game more, and then he's in that, we'll say, for the purpose of this exercise, let's just say like 19.5 points per game and up. And he's right there. If he just gets gets in for one more cut per game, like one clean cut from the corner for a layup, that gets him to 20 points per game versus last year. Like,
and he's another guy, like, let him run some pick and roll early in the game. Let him just like get the rock in his hand and like field a little bit. We've seen that he could do it. Like, he's not John Stockton or whatever, but I don't know why that name came out. But he's get him into a rhythm early. And I think you'll see a lot of return on your investment.
I think so too. So yeah, I think I'm going for it. I'm saying for real on this one. I think he could definitely do it, and he could, I don't know if I would say surprise people, but could get more back to the version that I think we were thinking as fans that he would be when, the Knicks initially picked him up and traded all those picks and everything for him last year. I think there's definitely room for that to happen for him. Okay, we'll be right back in to talk through OG Anunoby and whether he could be the third option on a title team or if the Knicks need to look elsewhere to potentially reach their championship dreams. Great topic with James coming up in the next segment. But first, I want to remind you all about our friends over at OpenPhone. And if you're running a business, you know every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the number one business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. OpenPhone is pretty great. It lets me manage business calls and texts from a single app. I'm not gonna lie, Locked On Knicks is not quite a big enough operation for me to need OpenPhone, if I'm being completely honest, but I do use it with my day job. I found myself in need of a business line that I could have that was separate from my personal phone. And OpenPhone's been great. It lets you manage calls and texts and keep your personal phone personal and your business phone for business. But their AI agent is really cool too, handles after hours calls, answers common questions, and captures leads so you never miss a customer. Now, OpenPhone is offering our listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. But let's talk about OG Anunoby next here. So bouncing to another player. This stop me if you've heard this before. OG Anunoby was pretty good last March when Jalen Brunson was down and put together a really good stretch of balls. So from March 2nd to April 6th last year, he averaged 23.8 points per game, shot 49.4% from the field, 41.7% from three, and 84.1% from the free throw line, along with 1.7 steals and 0.9 blocks per game. It was just an absolute demon for that whole month of March and into April towards the end of the season. We saw in the playoffs, it came in fits and spurts. Like there were games where it felt like he got kind of taken out of the game and games where he really took over and played really well. And I think that we saw that the games where he took over and played well were the ones that the Knicks were more often to win most of the time. Because he was a huge difference maker. He was a huge bellwether in terms of like, if OG gets around 20 points in a game, like, the Knicks have a pretty good chance of winning because you can pretty much, good night or bad night, you can almost always bank on about that much from Cat and from Brunson. And, getting another guy over that 20-point plateau and some other guys contributing around the board was usually enough to get the Knicks a win last year. So, James, my question for you, for real or Fugazi, OG can be the third star on a Knicks title team.
Oh, easily for real.
All right.
Easily for real. I love him. He's such a funny player. Like his personality is like weird and quirky. He dribbles like he's a white guy on the Celtics in 1952. You're like, and yet somehow
he does like 80% of the time, but then every once in a while, he just like takes a step in dribbling, then does like a behind the back like transfer and does a double step back and like nails a three and so, and you're like, where has this been? Like you go from
he'll rip off some spin move. You're like, what is that? Someone just experimenting with something new in 2K today?
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's like he turns his dribble slider up and down. If we want to make the NBA 2K reference, like his dribble slider game to game just vacillates by like 20 points. It's crazy.
And he's one of those guys. Yeah, I mean, we've seen that he can get going. I mean, he can really shoot. He can creating off the dribble. I don't know. He's just like weirdly, when he's engaged, he just finds all kinds of different ways to contribute on both sides of the ball. And I do think I think he's a real, we said it earlier, in the show, but he's just one of these guys who's like needs to touch the ball, needs to get into a little bit of rhythm, needs to feel good about like what he's doing out there and that like they're trying to get him involved. And I think if you get a little bit more of that, he's still going to be like streaky to some degree. I mean, everyone is. They go through ups and downs throughout a long season, but I think you'll see a lot less of that game to game if they, plan to have him be more involved in the offense, which is not to say he never did anything, but yeah, when Brunson went down, like have him do some of that while Brunson is not hurt, right? Like, and also just forgetting like, I think he was good enough last year to be the third guy on a title team, and they just had a couple unlucky bounces 10 feet off the rim. That might have sunk them. I don't really want to talk about that series any more than that oblique mention. But yeah, he's that guy. I mean, he's an incredible defender. 1 through 5. Great shooter. Yeah, I totally buy him being the third guy on a championship level team.
I think I'm buying it as well. And again, everything just comes back to being optimistic about Mike Brown. So I'm gonna say for real on this as well. I think, which by the way, you were 5 for 5 on for real.
If there's any more, I'm saying for real, no matter what, just because I have to go.
Just because it's part of the bit now.
It, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm going for real as well. I think that I think certain things just need to tighten up, and like that, weirdly, the handle is part of it. Like I just look at that and I go, how is it so inconsistent game to game? But if he finds the consistency, then it's game over. I mean, I think if you start using him in better ways, like I think he would be one of those guys that would really benefit from. And I mean, it's difficult because when you're facing teams, you kind of have to match his minutes to the other team's best wing most of the time, which means that, hey, if you're playing like a fully healthy Celtics or whatever, he's got to be out there to deal with Jason Tatum. If you're playing the Sixers, he has to be out there for Paul George. If you're playing, any other team with a high quality wing that you're trying to guard, he pretty much has to match their minutes because you want to have the best. Like with the Pacers this year, even like you got to have him out there for Siakam, that kind of thing. So it's difficult, I think, to do this, but I think that if Mike Brown can find a way to get him out there with some bench units occasionally, I think he could be like the 1A on a bench unit. If you have Cat and Brunson both sitting and you can time it out, where I think we more often saw Mikal in this position last year, which maybe you just kind of flip that script and say, you know what, now OG is the guy that we want to see out there leading the bench unit kind of from time to time.
Right.
After those first subs are made, maybe get Brunson and Cat out of the game early to, then give them a rest and let them come out to finish halves strong. Finish the first half strong, finish the game strong. Right. Could be a strategy worth exploring and having OG out there, but we saw so many times.
I'll even say, like when you said like you have to match minutes, like I don't know, maybe you look into occasionally, like can they go 4 minutes with Siakam on the floor and OG's not matched up with him, like half of one of his stints? Just see, like, are they going to go to him every single play and cook whoever else is guarding him? Okay, maybe, and then but like maybe you can try to do that and get him in some positions where he's not expending all of his energy all of the time on defending Siakam or whatever, and unleash him a little bit more. I don't know, maybe it won't work, but like, try it.
Yeah, and that very thinking honestly is like Tibbsian of me. So you're right, like that's sort of
you
like
said earlier we weren't disagreeing enough, so I was like, all right, here's one I can say.
There we go. Yeah, I mean that's like just the thinking that he has to match people. It's like maybe your scheme can speak louder than just an individual matchup. And I mean, other things too that we see other coaches do, which I'm like, everything just keeps coming down to like things we're hoping to see from the coaching staff this year. But like,
yeah,
I've said this a million times, but like every other team in the NBA other than the Tibbs coached Knicks were experimenting with the zone from time to time, like throwing that out there just for like 2-3 minutes just to confuse the other team. Buy yourself a little bit of time with like a weirder lineup out there, let a weird lineup cook a bit and, not have to worry about as much on defense. Like that's a thing that you can do. I mean, and
throw Huck out there and let him dance around and hack Siakam for a couple minutes, see if you can like get some cheap shit in. Sorry. Second curse. Yeah. But write that one down.
Let me just make a mark. Okay.
Just see.
Yeah.
Give it a shot once in a while. Throw a curveball, and then maybe they have a hard time defending OG when he comes out and Siakam's on the bench for a couple minutes.
I'm with you. Yeah, I think that's a thing that they should definitely do, and that should hopefully open up OG's offense a bit more. I think we'll see if they could put him in better positions. Like I think that what we were seeing early in the season out of OG too was the cutting was more of a thing than it became later in the season. Having he and Mikal at their respective corners that they love to shoot from more often at the beginning of sets was something that we saw way more in the year, early in the year, and then would see the ball get kicked out to one corner. OG would, drive in, and if he didn't have a clean look, he could kick it to Mikal in the other corner, whose defender was probably helping over. Same deal with, Mikal would come driving in, and then OG would be open in the other corner. Like these were looks that that they had early in the season last year when what I call their like running on instincts portion of the season last year that just evaporated once things eventually just turned into Tibbs having Brunson, run ISO a lot again. And that was just kind of what the offense was. And you still saw, OG be able to get his shots sometimes, but it was mostly when Brunson was out that you got to see more of that like friskier version of OG. I think there are ways to unlock that version that one, it could happen with Brunson still on the floor. But two, you could do that, and have OG play with the bench unit a little bit, whatever. Either way, I'm with you. I'm buying that he can be the third star on a Knicks title team. I think that is for real. I think we saw this year, obviously they got, within a couple games of the finals as it was. And, hey, would they have beaten OKC? I don't know. My inclination is probably no. OKC was really good this past year. I don't think it was going to be, they were going to have too much of a chance to do more than maybe take them to 6 or something in my, most honest heart of hearts here. But I think that OG could, if the Knicks do manage to break through, and maybe that's this year. I mean, they certainly won't have any better chance than with 2 of the top teams in their conference having their stars out for the entire year. They won't have a better chance than this year, I don't think, in the next few seasons. So I say go for it. I think that OG could be that guy. I don't know if they have to like move heaven and earth here to make a title happen, because I do think that they do potentially have the personnel right on board that can make that happen. All right, I'll be right back in with James, where I turn the mic on him and I say, "Hey, James, give me something to buy or sell here. Give me something to go after and say whether it's for real or fugazi." And he comes with the most James Marceda one you could possibly think of, which is to say, a nice homer take. So it's a nice one to go out on. Plus, last segment I have a announcement to make as well, which I will make in the final segment. So definitely stick around for that. But first, we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Very important. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. That's a lot of cheddar. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thank you for helping us out. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day. And would you look at that? That's today. A brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. So for just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. We've been pushing the Detroit Lions for better part of a week. So to make it a little different, let's say today, especially because I think the odds are meant to be boosted today. Full disclosure, I'm not recording this on FanDuel Futures Day, so I can't tell you what the odds are at this particular moment. But if I was going to pick a team other than the Lions, give me the Ravens. I'll maybe finally take a chance on the Ravens breaking through and winning a Super Bowl. So visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. See what kind of good odds you can get, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. And again, that is today, Tuesday, August 26th. FanDuel, play your game. But yeah, let's move on to our next one here. And actually, James, I didn't prepare a 6th one because I was kind of curious. Do you have something that you feel very strongly about going into this season that you think the Knicks are going to do, that you think one player is going to do or not do? Is there anything that you are curious about my take on, for real or fugazi, for this season?
I don't know. Yeah, you mentioned that right before we started, and I was like, I'm not sure what I would say here. I feel just overwhelmingly positive about them. I think they had a real chance to win a chip last year. I think they could compete again for a chip this year. I will be surprised if they don't make it to the NBA Finals this year.
Okay. So hit me with that. Phrase it right. Phrase it as a for real Fugazi.
Yeah, for real Fugazi. The Knicks are going to make the NBA Finals this year.
I'm going to jump right on with you, and I'm going to say for real, because why not? It kind of goes. Yeah, it's what I just said the last segment, right? Like this is their easiest runway I think that they're going to have for a long time to make it to the finals. Now, to win a title, probably a different story. Like I think the West is really dangerous right now. I think that, obviously the Thunder, I think, are poised to, if the Thunder three-peated, I would not be completely surprised. If I'm being totally honest, like they're really good, they're really young. They have no reason to break their team up, like luxury tax wise or anything, for a number of years. Like they're in a really good spot, and they have very easy avenues to shed salary if they have to or whatever. Like as much
But
as
they almost lost to the Pacers. They might have if Halliburton didn't get hurt, which is insane. And
maybe.
The Knicks lost to them, but Tibbs got his pants coached off by Carlisle. Like I don't think. Yes, like I give them credit. Those annoying little weasels, like they were a good team. They deserve to beat the Knicks. But like if you played that series again, I think the Knicks could have easily won. And so then I don't know. Like I do think they could beat Oklahoma. I think I'm not going to be like, yeah, they're the odds-on favorites, but like I think it's possible. I do think it's possible.
I think to quote a real jerk, anything is possible. Screamed into the rafters.
They beat the Celtics when no one thought they could. I mean, they beat them before Tatum went down. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's all about matchups. So just because they could beat the Celtics doesn't mean they could beat the Pacers, as we saw, and they played different styles. But I think they have the talent to hang with anybody.
I think they do too. I think that's I think they could, like I said, I think if I was going to just bet on who will be the Eastern Conference representative out of going into the finals this year, I think the Knicks should be the favorite. I'll be honest, I just don't know how you can make a case for the Cavs, considering what we've seen from them. Now, maybe you could say, hey, they had some injuries of their own. That's what, hurt them against the Pacers, and then the Pacers took advantage and blah, blah, blah. I think that we have to see more than a second round berth for the Cavs before we say that. And, Cavs fans might listen to this or whatever and be like, that's rich. The Knicks just made one Eastern Conference Finals. Now you're ready to say that they're like the pinnacle of excellence. Like, yeah, pretty much.
They made the Cavs like second guess being professional basketball players last time they played them in the playoffs. So
exactly,
every year is different, but
yeah,
it's not like we haven't seen this core pretty much smack them around.
And the Cavs smacked the Knicks around in the regular season this year, so who knows what would have happened in the playoffs.
So did the Celtics.
Yeah, I think it'll be it'll be competitive. I think there's teams.
Yeah, they're good, obviously. I mean, they're a great regular season team. They're going to win a ton of games.
I think there's teams that could give the Knicks a good 7-game Eastern Conference Finals or whatever, but I feel fairly confident that they should be the betting favorite to get out. Now,
Mitchell is not as good as Jalen Brunson.
No, definitely not. Yeah, which I don't think that's a hot take either. Yeah. I think that Brunson has just shown time and again, like literally had moments in this playoffs where it's like no matter what type of game he's had before the last 5 minutes of a game, he can win you a game in the last 5 minutes, and that's that. So yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm going for real on the Fuego take that the Knicks will make the NBA Finals this year. So this is I think that's all I had prepared. But James, I'm gonna announce something now that I thought it would be important to have you here for. But this is officially probably one of my last 3 episodes of Locked On Knicks that I will ever be doing.
Boo! 4 more years. 4 more years.
4 more years. Get out of here. Yeah, I've been doing this for 6.5 years, since December of 2018, after you handed this off. And so it's important to me to have you on before I get off, because I just want to say thank you for thinking of me for doing this. And then obviously I'll have a longer
statement that I'll say on whatever my final episode ends up being about my time doing this. But I don't know. I had so much fun when you and I used to do episodes together, which is why, and I assume you did as well, which is why I wound up being, I
Had a
think, the
decent time.
the most featured guest by like orders of magnitude, maybe me or Schwinn, in the time
Schwinn
that
was
you were
right
hosting.
behind you. And
Yeah.
then my arch nemesis, Drew Steele, was a distant third.
Yeah. So
after he lied and said that he was a cap expert and came on and knew nothing about it, I had to make sure he didn't come back for a little while. So.
We both have stories like that with Drew as well, considering I once had Drew on for a draft episode and asked him about a guy that was projected to go maybe 12th. And I go, Drew, what do you think about Bruno Fernando? And he goes, who's Bruno Fernando? And I go, he's like the 12th rated prospect in this draft. Like, what
so Drew. That's so Drew.
After he volunteered to come on for a draft episode. But yeah, James, I just wanted to like thank you, man. And you know, I always appreciated that you first like let me come on the show to begin with, and then secondly trusted me to do the show, and then third, the willingness that you had to put people on. And like honestly, like I don't know if you would ever give yourself this much credit, but like there is a decent number of people that are doing stuff at a pretty high level related to Knicks content now that started off by you just being like, hey, you want to do a spot on Locked On Knicks today? You know, myself, Schwinn, those are probably the two biggest ones, you know, and obviously you, me, Schwinn, a number of our other friends from back at Posting and Toasting, and now with Strickland talk like all the time. So like for those that are listening, like I talk to James like multiple times a week, like we're still good friends, whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you for bringing me on and starting me on this journey. And like I've always tried to kind of carry myself and do for others what you did for me, which was giving me a shot to do something where like I was at the time that I took over this show, I was 6 years out of college, like kind of questioning if like I had made the right decisions with going to school for like journalism, trying to get into sports media, whatever. And like, you know, whether I'd made a huge mistake. I'd worked so many like weird, odd jobs to that point. I was at the time that I took over the show working for a newspaper, but not doing anything that I ever thought that I would be doing, which was like talking about sports or interacting with sports in a meaningful way every day. And then I did those guest spots with you, and that always felt so cool and like such a big thing to do to me at that time in my life when I was also like blogging for PNT like on the side and whatever. And then to actually take over the show, and then what I've gotten to do from this over this past 7 years has been really special. I've just kind of, you know, I'll talk about it more another time, but I've reached a point in my life where the workload is a bit much to be working a full-time job and doing this. But, you know, I just want to let you know, like, I really appreciate that you gave me this shot. And that, well, first that, and then that, you know, David Locke and the people at Locked On let me take what you were handing to me. But, yeah, man, thank you. Like, I always appreciated how you approach this show, the fact that you brought me on to here, and then just it's been a really rewarding 6 years and change. So I wanted you to be here when I told people the listening audience that I would be ultimately leaving the show.
If we could curse, I would have just said F you right after you were done with that as my joke before moving on to earnestness, which I'm good at in my real life, but not really behind a mic, where my instinct is always to make people laugh. But that's really nice. Like, thank you. I mean, it feels good to hear that. Obviously, that was something that I wanted to do. I saw other people do that for, you know, young sports journalists. So I did try to do that. So it's like nice to be noticed for doing a good thing. But it was always really easy and fun, and working with you. And it was, you know, you knew your stuff, you were prepared, unlike Drew Steele, and and you were a friend, and it was just like easy and good to spend time with you. So it was always a joy to have you as a guest. I'm glad that you did it for as long as you did afterward. I'm excited to see what you do next. And yeah, just thank you for the kind words. It does mean a lot to me. So I appreciate that.
Well, TBD on that, what to do next. But for now, I'm going to sign off on this episode of Locked On Knicks. So, yeah, as I said, I'll be back at some point later this week for probably my last episode, or perhaps 2 episodes with Gavin. So I guess I'll just say to anyone that's either listening in podcast form or on YouTube, if you want to leave like a YouTube comment, if you have anything you want to ask me before I go, if you have if you want to tweet my X that I barely use at Alex Wolf, you could do that. And you know, if you have anything to say or whatever, or if you want to just tell me I suck one last time and that the show has never been as good as when James hosted, that's fine too. Because now you can, maybe someone will say, "Oh man, I hope they bring Alex back at some point."
You'll have at least one. You'll have at least one.
I'll have one stan out there. But anyway, that's it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. James, thank you for coming on. And yeah, everybody, we'll talk to you soon. Peace out. See you next time on Locked On Knicks.